Let's get right into it. Number 10. Free luxury cars. When Lamborghini releases a new model, they don't just park it in a showroom. They call up a celebrity and say, "Want to drive this for free for 6 months? No catch, no payment, just a brand new Lamborghini sitting in your driveway." Because having the right person seen in the right car is worth more to these companies than any billboard. And this perk only exists if you're already rich enough to not need a free car. Ferrari has been doing this for decades. They hand select who gets to be seen in their vehicles. There's a waiting list to buy a Ferrari, not to get one for free, but to pay for one. And even then, Ferrari can say no. They rejected one buyer because they didn't like his public image. Meanwhile, someone else got the same car delivered to their house with a bow on it, for free. Now compare that to what happens when a normal person wants a car. You walk into a dealership, you test drive a car for 15 minutes with a nervous salesperson in the passenger seat to decide if you want to spend the next 7 years paying for it. And if your credit score has ever had a bad year, those 7 years come with an interest rate that would make a loan shark blush. The average car loan interest rate for someone with poor credit is around 21%. That means on a $25,000 car, you end up paying closer to $40,000. So the person with less money pays $40,000 for a used Honda. The rich person gets a Lamborghini delivered to their door, drives it for 6 months, gives it back, and gets a different one. The only requirement is that you're already the kind of person who doesn't need it. Number 9. Free personal stylists. When you go shopping, you wander around a store, pick up a shirt, put it back, pick it up again, and finally buy it. You get home and realize it makes you look like a depressed geography teacher. Rich people don't do that. They walk into a high-end store like Saks Fifth Avenue, and a personal stylist is already waiting for them. This person has studied their style and already pulled 20 outfits before they even walked through the door. And this service costs the rich person exactly $0. The store pays for it because they know a client with a personal stylist spends far more money than a client wandering around alone. Meanwhile, you're at TJ Maxx, digging through a clearance bin, looking for a shirt with a small stain you're willing to overlook. Poor people actually pay for styling advice through apps and subscription boxes like Stitch Fix, which charges a fee just to send you clothes you might not even keep. So the person who needs the money least gets the professional stylist for free, and the person watching every dollar pays a subscription for a lesser version of the same service. Number 8. Free kitchen renovations. A luxury kitchen company will rip out an entire kitchen and rebuild it from scratch, for free, but not for you, for the person who already has a beautiful kitchen. High-end renovation companies need photos for their brochures and websites, and then they want to photograph a stunning house, not a normal one, so they reach out to wealthy homeowners in expensive neighborhoods and make them an offer. "Let us redo your kitchen for free. We'll pay for everything, materials, labor, all of it." In exchange, they get to photograph the finished result for their marketing. The homeowner gets a brand new $80,000 kitchen. The company gets a gorgeous photo. Meanwhile, your kitchen faucet starts dripping. You open YouTube and find a video called "Fix a Leaky Faucet in 5 minutes." The video is 47 minutes long. You go under the sink, turn the wrong valve, and now your kitchen is a swimming pool. The plumber charges you $400 for 20 minutes of work. The dripping faucet you ignored just cost you enough to cover 2 months of groceries. Number 7. Reputation management. A CEO gets caught doing something genuinely terrible, not just a bad photo, real, documented, newsworthy bad behavior. Within 48 hours, the story is gone. Rich people and big companies keep PR firms on retainer. A team of professionals is on standby, ready to go to war for their reputation. These firms have relationships with journalists and editors. They know who to call to get a story softened, delayed, or killed entirely. They also have lawyers who send cease and desist letters. That's a legal threat. Take this down or we'll sue you. Most small websites can't afford to fight that, so they comply. Then there's SEO suppression. If a bad story ranks high on Google, they pay experts to flood the internet with positive content, new articles, interviews, charity work, all of it carefully placed to push the bad story down to page 2 of Google, where nobody ever looks. A mid-level PR crisis firm charges $10,000 to $50,000 per month. A full campaign can run into the millions. And here's the part that makes it essentially free. It's a business expense. That means it gets deducted from their taxes. The government is partially subsidizing the cleanup of their reputation. Meanwhile, one bad post can cost you a job offer. Rich people solved this problem by paying professionals to make their past disappear. The rest of us just have to hope people don't scroll too far. Number 6. Free media coverage. A small business owner saves up for months and drops $2,000 on a magazine ad. It runs once on page 47, next to a coupon for carpet cleaning. Nobody sees it. Meanwhile, a billionaire wakes up, does nothing special, and ends up on the cover of Forbes. When you're rich, the media needs you more than you need them. A story about Elon Musk gets millions of clicks. A story about Dave's Plumbing gets 0. So magazines, newspapers, and TV shows come to rich people, begging for interviews and writing glowing articles about their vision and passion. It's called a human interest story, but really it's just free advertising with better lighting. Richard Branson once got on the front page of every major newspaper by attempting to cross the Atlantic in a hot air balloon. He failed, crashed into the ocean, and still got more press than most companies get in a decade. He didn't pay $1 for any of it. Oprah mentions a book on her show, and it sells 500,000 copies overnight. The author and publisher paid nothing. The game is rigged. The more you already have, the more people want to talk about you. The less you have, the more you have to pay just to be heard. Number 5. The Rewards Subsidy. Every time you swipe your card, the store pays a fee to the credit card company, usually 1 to 3% of your purchase. The credit card company takes that money and gives a fraction of it back to their best customers as rewards. Those rewards don't go to everyone equally. They go to the people who spend the most. A person spending $50,000 a year on their card is racking up enough points to fly business class to Tokyo for free. Meanwhile, someone spending $500 a month is getting enough points for a $10 Amazon gift card. Maybe, but who actually funds these rewards? It's not the stores. It's the people who carry a balance. About 40% of credit card users don't pay off their balance every month. They pay the minimum and get hit with interest rates that average around 20%. That interest money is what makes the whole reward system possible. What's actually happening is people struggling financially are paying interest, and that money gets handed over to wealthy people as free flights and hotel stays. The credit card company built a machine that takes money from the bottom and gives it to the top, disguised as a loyalty program. There's a name for people who pay their balance every month and collect all the rewards. The industry calls them deadbeats, not because they don't pay, but because they pay too well. The company makes almost nothing off them. So the next time you see someone flying first class on points, know that somebody paid for that ticket. It just wasn't them. Number 4. Legacy college admissions. Your kid gets rejected from Harvard, but their classmate got in. Same grades, same test scores. The difference? Their classmate's grandfather donated a building. This is called legacy admissions. At Harvard, legacy applicants are admitted at a rate of about 34%. Regular applicants get in at a rate of 4%. Being related to an alumni makes you roughly 6 times more likely to get in. Your kid spent 4 years earning straight A's. Their kid spent 4 years being born into the right family. A single donation made decades ago keeps paying dividends in the form of college acceptances for generations. It's a trust fund that dispenses diplomas instead of money. And these universities are nonprofits. They pay no taxes. So the government is essentially subsidizing a system where rich families buy their kids a spot at the front of the line. You paid taxes, which helped fund the university's tax exemption. That exemption helped the school attract a massive donation. That donor's kid took your kid's spot. You essentially helped pay for your own rejection letter. Number 3. The 2-tier justice system. If you are broke and charged with a serious crime, you get arrested. You can't afford bail, so you sit in jail waiting for your trial. That wait can be months, sometimes over a year. While you're in a cage, you lose your job, your apartment, and your life collapses before you've even been convicted of anything. The court gives you a public defender who is drowning, handling over 150 cases at once. Now the rich version. You're charged with the same crime. You post bail in an hour. You go home, sleep in your own bed, and keep your life running while your lawyers do the fighting. A rich person hires a private attorney with maybe 10 cases. They know your file inside and out. They know the judge, the prosecutor, and which arguments work in that specific courtroom. If you're innocent but poor, you might be pressured to take a plea deal just to get out of jail. If you're guilty but rich, your lawyer has the time and resources to find a procedural error that gets the case thrown out. One system is a fight for your life. The other is an expensive inconvenience. That's not justice. That's a subscription service. Number 2. Financial bailouts. When your library book is overdue, you get a 25-cent fine. You panic. When a bank loses billions of dollars from making bad bets with other people's money, the government sends them a check. A really big check. In 2008, the US government handed over $700 billion to failing banks. These companies were deemed too big to fail, which is a polite way of saying, too big to be held accountable. The same banks that were bailed out paid their executives millions of dollars in bonuses that same year, using the bailout money to do it. Meanwhile, millions of regular people who fell behind on their mortgages lost their homes. There was no bailout for them, just a box of their belongings on the front lawn. The average person who defaulted on their mortgage was foreclosed on. The average bank that defaulted on its entire business model got a government check. So next time you're stressed about a small debt, remember, you simply haven't borrowed enough money to be forgiven for losing it. Number 1. Borrowing against billions. When a billionaire needs cash, they don't sell their stocks. That would trigger a massive tax bill. Instead, they walk into a private bank and borrow against their assets, their stocks, their real estate, their art collection. All of it becomes collateral, and the bank gives them a loan at around 2 or 3% interest, sometimes even less. Meanwhile, when the average person needs $500 for a car repair, they use a credit card that charges them 24% interest, or they go to a payday lender that charges the equivalent of 400% interest. This strategy has a name, a securities-backed line of credit. You pledge your investments, the bank gives you cash, you pay almost no interest, and you never sell your assets. Because you never sell, you never trigger a taxable event. It's borrowing that comes with a massive tax break. Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Larry Ellison have all used versions of this to borrow billions against their shares to fund their lifestyles without selling stock or paying capital gains tax. It's completely legal, but it's not an option for someone whose biggest asset is a 2009 Honda Civic. The bank's logic is simple. Lending to a billionaire is risk-free. If they default, the bank takes the stocks. Lending to someone with no assets is risky, so the bank charges more to cover that risk. The less you have, the more you pay to borrow. The more you have, the less you pay. It is a system that rewards having things by making it cheaper to get more things. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.